Hello and welcome to round 3 of the FRS. We are here with PC Division 3 at the Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. I promise that's the last time I'll do an Italian accent. Of course, the Italian Grand Prix, Temple of Home of the Tifosi, the 11-turn Monza circuit. I am your host Ohei, and in true Valentine's Day fashion, I am alone. Commentary today, but nevertheless, we will be cracking on, seeing what has to offer for tonight. One thing we can obviously do is look back at last week's what happened last week. I can get the graphic up. Played nice. There we go. Last week, Becker took the race win, and with it, up into P1 in the Division 3 Drivers' Championship standings, while Cooney 2 slots into that second behind the non-scoring car of Air Jordan after a very strong showing in Brazil and for a little down the order. Also, quite a notable drive there, Massimo Romeo, formerly in my division of P4, got moved up to Division 3 after one race after dominating there, and on debut sort of a podium Division 3, really showing what they've got in that car. Now moving on to the constructors, of course, we did see Wrecker and Air Jordan in a killer pairing in that Renault, and as such they are P1 in this division's constructor standings, with Mercedes second place, and the help of Hamlin 7 right now, and then Racing Point. Actually consistent showing, Adiman and Andrew Orthodox both on 20 points right now, puts them into P3, well ahead of everyone else. But I care about the constructor standings, because I think there's a much bigger standings going on, and by bigger I mean about 13 times bigger. Look at those numbers. That is the current teams championship standings, I believe updated for the Friday and Saturday races. As you can see, Red Bull are currently running away at the top of the table here, ahead of Racing Point and Mercedes. The Division 3 drivers have been all in Renault off the bottom spot there. They're currently 24 points clear of bottom, but here they are only P7 in the team championship, so I'm sure I'll certainly be hoping for another Bond performance to try and lift them up a little bit further in that table. 16 points to AlphaTauri. Current AlphaTauri drivers haven't been too threatening so far. We've had Lazzo and Dodds combined for 4 points, and so it's possible with a strong result here, Renault could spring up in 6 in the championship, so that's definitely one to watch out for. They need 16 extra points to make that happen. And of course, I'm not the only one in this race. I'm not entirely sure who is in this race, and actually it's not back to Lewis right now, so I will that down a notch. There we go. Is that better, or am I a little bit quiet now? Microphone's all really awful. I hope that's a little bit better. I'm not the only one to. I'm not too sure if these drivers are currently live, but if they are, definitely go and check out these Twitch channels if you want to cheer along a driver as they go around. Especially Ryan Wrecker there, who, as I said, is coming in as the championship leader and driver who took the race win last time out in Spain. We are about to get this lobby away. Of course, round 3 of our championship here, we've been to Brazil and Spain, and after the race here at the Temple of Speed, we'll have one more round Baku City circuit in Azerbaijan before heading for a 1-week break starting the second leg of the season. That's definitely one to watch out for. It's definitely one for the drivers to watch out. That's going to be an exciting one. As for Monza, I mean, I'm sure I don't need to very much. It is a very high-speed circuit, the highest speed circuit on the Formula 1 calendar. I believe average speed is actually faster than what we saw at the Bahrain Outer Circuit 2020 City Grand Prix. could be wrong there. There are only 11 corners, which is split into 3 chicanes. One of them, Ascari, is quite brutal, and have to be very careful with it. Still have that wheel. And then you have Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, and Parabolica, the famous corner, as the only 3 pure corners on the track. So definitely one to watch out for. And if you ever want to, I guess, mess around without track limits, Monza's a very good place to go, as is Paul Ricard, because there's very little in the way of runoff there. Or way of runoff, not really in the way of grass. We have to be very careful of the track limits here. In terms of a lap around this track, the first chicane, you want to take a lot of the first curve, but not the second one. That's the main thing to keep an eye on there. And then for the second chicane, it seems to be where a lot of people were getting caught out in qualifying in Division 1. Were either taking too much curve or running wide on the edge and invalidating their laps. So that's definitely one to watch out for. And then the inside wall of Lesmos is brutal. If you make contact with it, it can very easily destroy your car. So even though those corners aren't necessarily the most difficult to nail as compared to some of the chains, definitely one where you have to be a little extra care just to make sure the race doesn't end early. And someone is mentioning in chat, and it seems that it is matched by the Division 3 chat on Discord. The qualifying session is looking to be wet here, so that's going to be a very exciting turn of events. And we might not really see what sort of pace this field has until lap 1, or possibly a little bit further if there are any instants on lap 1, as is been fairly common in the division so far. Comment on. Yeah, wet qualifying. I mean, as I said, it's going to be a very low downforce circuit. It's so high speed, but in qualifying, you're going to want to have more downforce to keep control of the car, possibly more on the front end, which is quite a good thing that you change the front wing angle in part firmware conditions, so you can put it up to maybe 3.6, 3.7 maybe for qualifying, and then bring the front wing back down to 1 or 2 for the race. So we might see that from a number of drivers. You can also change the differential, and so while drivers might want to have a higher differential, get the power down as efficiently as possible down the long straights, some of these drivers may instead opt to bring it back down to minimum for the wet qualifying, so that they have less wheel spin and they can get the power down at all. Those are the main things to watch out for in terms of what we could see in differences between qualifying and the race. In terms of what we can actually expect from qualifying, I have no idea. I don't believe Division 3 has had a wet session so far this season. And in fact, they didn't have a wet session at all last season when I was driving there. And so this may well be the first competitive running in the wet that PC Division 3 has ever seen. So I could be wrong on that one. I'm not sure Division 3 existed in Division 1, or in Season 1 actually. But as I speak, we are just about ending the qualifying session here. Sorry, the practice session, I should say. For everyone to make sure that the equipment is working properly, they've got their setup loaded. That may be a question mark for some drivers going into this wet qualifying session. And with that, I think I'll have a very, very quick break, then back for the start of our qualifying session. And we are back, and my word, we are just loading into this qualifying session now, and the conditions look pretty treacherous, Al. Yeah, I wouldn't normally cut over this early to game feed, but I think I will show you, just so you can see that that is quite heavy rain. Of course, no one has decided to venture out of the pits just yet. Can't get an onboard shot, but that's looking tricky. What we can do is we can see, and it does appear that an option for drivers is intermediate tyres. That's what they're currently thinking is optimal. So, not quite full wet. I'm sure a lot of drivers are very thankful for that because full wet conditions are pretty terrible to drive in. Well, of course, we do want to challenge our drivers here as much as possible and go on board with Wood Fulk is our first driver out on track. The Going gentle on the throttle. I get the temperature you might be able to see that as cars run. One Dodge who's just running through. Oh, it's just difficult to traverse, and then about half throttle about a second, and you have a lag back from the Velociraptor. That's unfortunate. But of course, just seeing cars over that, let's try and find their footing here. You can obviously see those red lights flashing on the back of the cars. That's not show that cars are low on ERS, although in the race when they are below 10% that will happen. Those lights are just for pure visibility so that the cars ahead see the mist and the spray that your intermediates or your wet to the full wet tire can up to 90 litres of water every second. And so those red flashing lights are just to show that there is a car there and they should take care when coming up. And here we go. Lord Bolt will be the first car to try and set a lap. You know on the throttle very early through Parabolica, but in these conditions you've got to be patient, make sure you are under. As Lord Bolt flies down the start straight, the first competitive lap in this session. Breaking into turn 1. The braking point there will know will not be very useful. Let's brake a lot earlier. Be patient on the throttle. This corner is so difficult, even in the dry, to get the traction down. Some of these drivers are running without traction control, then this could be a very meaningful session for them. Now, Lord Bolt goes purple through the first sector, which is a given because there's only been one first sector driven so far. There's Addyman letting this lead car through outlap, and then through the Lesbians. You've got to be careful on the outside curbs there. Those can throw you into the inside wall. Oh, that got a little bit loose there, and I said that inside wall can rip a wheel off with the slightest hesitation. And Scarby, this is quite a high-speed chicane, but the curbs could throw you quite badly. It looks like Lord Bolt's managed to keep it clean by avoiding that final curve. It's not as fast, but in these conditions you don't want to risk being eliminated from the session 4 minutes. You want to have time to make sure that you can get multiple laps and possibly get in a lap at the optimal time where the track is driest and the quickest. Lord Bolt sets off first for 129.6. Cars behind are setting times above 1590. Gets a 30.0. Becker, our championship leader, down into Ascari, and actually there's been an incident ahead. Is that Addyman again parked up, letting people past. Jordan has gone in P2, but currently Lord Bolt is still on provisional pole. Everyone else is sliding into the 30s. It's possible that the track has gotten a little bit worse, and Lord Bolt rushing out at the start was a good move. We'll see. Wrecker, surely, if anyone can beat that time of 129.6, it will be Wrecker. Championship leader in PC Division 3 comes across the line to finish the lap. And it's only 130.9. So it seems like the track isn't in a great position right now. It might be getting worse. And I'd be very worried if I were one of the bottom cars here. Hasn't managed to settle up, especially Addyman, who's not even started a competitive lap. And Androtto's actually pulled back into the pits after I assume, getting front wing damage. Hamlin has managed to get a time in the 29.6. His own, I mean, what, 6,000th off the provisional pole. But it is possible that these conditions aren't quite as bad as Adiman has, I assume, invalidated through Parabolica there, and is really struggling in these conditions. Lord Volt has actually done again, and has gone pole, and has improved the time by 4/10, so the track is trying to limit, maybe because the cars are running over, dispersing the water each set of inters as is 30 litres a second, and so when that's being thrown off the racing line, the track can dry out surprisingly quickly when you have 18 cars barreling through at, well, not necessarily 300 kilometers an hour, but somewhere close to it. Air Jordan has finished a second lap. Actually, Hamlin, a very competitive lap earlier, and is flying through into Ascari. Oh, that looked like quite a bit of curb, but the game doesn't mind too much. And oh, really riding the curb, but that final one, that is a tricky one. It has kept the car, but lost a little bit of time. But through into Parabolica, let's see. One thing that you don't tend to see in qualifying in dry is that people will do multiple laps in one stint. But in the wet, you want to be on track at the perfect time, so this does happen. Hamlin has gone for a 29.3. It's less than a tenth from pole, but currently it's only the second row of the grid for Mercedes driver. And it's so difficult to follow a qualifying session like this because there's not that burst of going out laps and then they're doing flying laps and they're back in. Everyone's just trying to get whatever they can from these conditions. But just coming through the second sector now, is it going to be an improvement? I mean, I don't think that's a flying lap time to the second sector, but it might be in the wet. It is, it's less than 10th up, but that is indeed a flying lap. And Air Jordan actually has gone on provisional pole with a 28.3, so watching the Ron Renault here, whether conditions have improved a little bit or whether Air Jordan just had an incredible lap. That is pulled by nearly a second right now. I'm not sure if they get close, but that is a statement from the winner of race in Brazil. Didn't score last time out, but seems to be rallying back here. If Lord Bolton to respond, no, Lord Bolton will be pulling into the pits here. Hamlin, I think possibly on another lap, might be trying to. I'll be so careful on throttle through Parabolica, and Hamlin as well is pulling into the pits. There have been a lot of solid laps put in so far. Adiman's invalidated again. Cannot seem to control that racing point in these conditions. And in fact, neither racing point has set a lap right now. And so, out of the 18 drivers currently on the grid, the 2 cars on row 9. And that is not where you want to be. You're doing the Tom Steele that can happen into turn 1 at Monza. Long run to turn 1, but once you get there, it turns into a car park, but it's such a slow speed chicane after such a high speed straight. Jordan is pulling to the pits. I just wanted to check to make sure he wasn't trying to set another pole time. You never know. 90 is currently a 10th down first sector. Been through Lesmos, the first one. We're trying to just as you can, partly to let the camber come on the carry, and partly to just avoid the outside curves. They really are pretty tentative through everything. Really can do. Coming corners. Second split is now 5,000 down. That was a purple second sector. The conditions don't look great. It's possible they are improving with all the cars flying around. That was a purple sector. Whether it's just that this car's running maybe a little bit higher downforce, which helped through the Desmos. Will help in these wet conditions as well. As they come towards the line, but in the inside here, it's an improvement, but it is not a position gained. 29.873, that's still P11. as we were following up with that, that's Stodds, who is currently on invalid lap, did manage to be Curious Stills as well, going to P5. So, you know, some of the usual suspects going here, but also some people who haven't been in front of us. Like Stodds has been pretty, that's not a Prix, and yet is currently in P3 in qualifying. So that's definitely strong. I'll be looking forward to see whether they can carry that momentum into the race. Pulls into the pits here. Raptors, that's gone out again. Those are on an old set of tyres. You only have a couple of sets of inters to work with in qualifying. That could be why, as maybe just that they don't take very much wear. And Orthodox has set a lap in one of the racing points. It's only P17, it's not actually anyone, so conditions continuing to cause issues for the team in pink. And with only 7 minutes to go, I'd be very concerned if I were in cars right now. Anyman is on an out lap, so it's possible to see, well, an attempt there. Not sure exactly how quick it might be. Velociraptor is up a tenth and a half through the second sector. That would be enough to jump this pack. Oh, catches the curb at the exit of Ascari. There's a wobble that throws him wide, and that invalidates the lap. It would have been enough to jump into P2. It's a very tight pack at the front here, with the exception of Air Jordan in P1, who has gone pole by almost a tenth. And I cannot imagine how that margin has happened. That is incredible. It's not that the track conditions have changing much, just the time seemed stable cars. I'm on board with Adiman, who's still yet to set a time. See what he can do. The Lesmos doesn't quite hit the inside there, but keeps the car stable in a bit of a karting line to carry extra speed through the corner. Still much more difficult to get the power down. A little bit of a wobble on the exit, but manages to keep it stable and keep it out of the wall, crucially. Now going into Ascari, the second set's time will be a 9.2. That's reasonable. I'll try and clip as much curb as possible, but avoid the final one in these conditions. Take a little bit, that's okay. Car hasn't been unsettled too much. Now flies through into Parabolica. Unless he runs wide here, this will be a valid lap, but where will it put him? Hit the brakes hard, try and take an early apex, get the power down as early as possible. The power's full throttle now, keeping it on. The EOS is actually out at this point in the lap. Cross the line, and it is a 129.5. It's enough for P12, and now both racing points are in the pack. Not perfect times yet, obviously. That is effectively Addy's banter lap, but still moving up to the 6th row, definitely improvement. That track actually has made quite a big jump here. Actually isn't on a lap right now, just gone for one. Put it in P2, and then decided to back off again. If Lord Bolt has anything to show, he is up nearly a tenth. He did a bit more than that to reclaim the position on the front row of the grid. But this could still put a little bit of gap between himself and the cars behind who are very close. It will not be an improvement, it'll be a 129.3. It's definitely burn for Lord Bolt there. Hamlin actually coming into Parabolica is up a massive amount of time. That was 7/10 after the second set, which was just before Ascari. I think the car is fishtailing a little bit. He's getting the power down as early as he dares, and that is enough for P2. That's a 128.5. And with 4 minutes in the session, the P2 driver of Hamlin, sorry, no, never mind. Hamlin has put it on the front row of the grid. Less than 4 minutes ago. Trini Steels is the P2 driver. We'll be looking to join him there if possible. Got back at Addyman, who's final corner, and actually has not improved, but backed off a little bit. He's possibly starting another lap now. Not too much time to cool laps here. You might just want to, depends on how much fuel you have. It looks like, I don't know if the data's right here on the wheel, but it looks like Addy does not have enough fuel to complete a lap in Rich here, let alone get back to the pits, so this could be a bit of a disaster. Currently Adiman with 0.8 laps of fuel left, that is not enough. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens there. Currently the runner with 3 minutes left, Air Jordan leads Hamlin and Natra all in the 28s here, and Lord Wolf, Stott, Velociraptor, Aryan, Cooney Stills, Wrecker and Sienna Bob Nearly ran at the top 10. With a gap about a tenth and a bit between all of these both blanket over that entire pack. It's incredible. Wrecker hasn't improved. Every person in this package, anyone could be setting a competitive lap. Velociraptor possibly on one right now. The top 3 are currently in the pits. I just don't know who to watch. We'd have to keep an eye on Ham and Adiman as well, who is on 0.1 laps of fuel. And it's 0.0. I think he's run out now. Not be able to get to the line to finish this lap. Have to peel into the pits and hope he can get out again to give a final attempt. That could be Adiman's qualifying session over. What a disaster for the Racing Point team. Andrew Alphonse is on an outlap at P15, and Adiman might finish now 13. I honestly do not know. I don't know why he didn't pull into the pits when he had 1 lap of fuel left. He would have had time to get back out and set one more run. Fresh tank, fresh set of tyres. Velociraptor has jumped a little bit. Stods and the Velociraptor in fact have improved. Blood Bulk is coming across the line and also improved as he jumps Velociraptor. Aryan just coming through the first chicane now. Let's kind of follow everyone here. Becker is coming through Parabolica but has invalidated. This will be their final chance at a lap here. Anyone who crosses the line will only have time to complete the 1 lap they are on. That is not... Adiman has retired from the session, is not able to get out again, and is provisionally in P13. Cooney has not gone faster. This will be another attempt. It will be their final attempt. Velociraptor, not the pass coming across the line. That is Lamchop, who doesn't improve. Velociraptor, though, definitely want to keep an eye on. But in a lap 10th quicker. 4 laps to go, but this one will not be. Should still make it to the line to start one more attempt. Yeah, they are not using the ERS here. Not been following on board. Lazzo actually jumps to P11, knocking Addy the back of the 7th row. And Nattrap, driver on a lap. That we should watch. Just with first edge, we'll come back to them. Hamlin on an out lap. And this will be about a pole position. Air Jordan actually has put down that 28.3 and has stayed in the pits. As if to say, that is what I have, that's all I have in the tank. If you want to take pole position, that's what you have to be. And right now it looks like not many cars are able to. Of course we'll see if the conditions aren't quite as strong. Air Jordan and Hamlin are locked in where they are. Aryan has actually put it, improved by half a second, has gone to P3. Can Nattrack respond? That first set time wasn't very good. What's about the second set time? Nearly a second down. That lap won't be an improvement. And so Aryan may have jumped it at the final second. Stodds, that purple first sector. Just a little bit of traffic here. It's possibly because of AI cars, which could be a bit of a disaster. This is the case. Oh, rides that inside curb a lot. That's not his way to go, but this could be very, very good lap if that first sector can be chained up with bumpers. Lost a bit of time, is now only slightly up, but it could still be an improvement. Might be the final improvement in this session. Oh, and that was a big moment. I don't think that lap is likely to be quicker, but with the Aryan has backed off. One goal. Final car and hasn't been able to set a valid lap here. Dodge rounding through Parabolica. I think possibly our final car set time. Velociraptor actually has crossed the line, not improved, and Stodds gets to back off. And it looks like with that, our qualifying session is complete. Our order, Air Jordan, the fantastic time for 1:28.3 early in the session, hauled onto pole position from Hamlin behind, and then Lazzo, Aryan, Nattrack only other drivers able to make it into the 128s in these conditions. Then round out the top 10, we have Stodds, Woodvolt, Velociraptor, Cooney, and Wrecker. And then behind, Bob, Gali, Addyman, Andrew Orthodox, Aaron, Lambchop, and Wandall. Now, of course, that top 10 window would normally be a much bigger thing than it is, but because they qualified on intermediate tyres here, every car will have a free tyre choice going into the race. So that'll be an exciting thing to watch. Velociraptor in chat saying that were it not for an invalidation, they might have had a chance at beating Air Jordan's time here. As it stands, Air Jordan will be the pole sitter ahead of Hamlin. There is your final qualifying order for the Italian Grand Prix. And in just a second, the race. Hello and welcome back. And we are just about to get into the Italian Grand Prix here, PC Division 3 of the FRS. 27 laps of Monza here. Look forward to only 11 corners per lap, but definitely a lot of challenges for these drivers to tend with managing the ERS, their fuel, and just trying to stay in a DRS train. Really, that's the key in a race situation here. Rather to start their formation lap, where they can try and get a bit of heat into the tyres. One thing I would like to keep an eye on here, get into this session, is what tyres everyone has chosen, because everyone had a free trip. You can see already the pole sitter and a few cars behind have gone for the medium compound, and it is the majority choice here. Only 5 cars opting for another compound. We have Stodds, Addyman, Ferrin and Lambchop all starting on the soft compound of tyre, and then right at the back, One Goal, One Dream going on the hard compound of tyre. Just trying to run long into this race, and then on a fresh set of softs at the end to try and climb through the field, maybe steal the fastest lap at the end. But of course, all the cars ahead will also be looking to go probably from the soft in this race. So watch out for. Here's our man on pole, Air Jordan. Won the first race and took the fastest lap in Brazil, but did not score last time out. And we're looking to right the ship and rejoin Wrecker at the top of the standings in the Renault team. Behind we have Hamlin, who so far has been the less fortunate of the two Mercedes drivers. Cooney got 2 podiums in the first 2 races, but Hamlin has been in the points both times as well, and has shown some good pace both this season and last season, so that's one to watch out for. And down the rest of the grid we have... Did Latias qualify that high? I missed that a little bit. Renovation was not. This was not a dry qualifying. It was a wet qualifying, so every car has a tyre choice to get into this race. There we go. It's the end of the formation lap here. I was trying to get a bit of heat into the heads. Wandall actually is quite far back, just rounding parabolic now, possibly going to get heat into those hard compound tyres and a little bit extra weak. But that would mean that every car ahead will standing still for a little bit longer. Get into the race. Of course, turn 1 is watch out for at this track. It can be so brutal, as can the straight leading into turn 1. But we'll see if these two guys can negotiate. With the lights are coming on now. 4 lights, 5 lights. It is lights out and away we go. And everyone gets away cleanly. It looks like Air Jordan has got an okay start, but Hamlin is looking down the inside. Almost getting squeezed off track here. They're going to be pretty bunched up coming into the first chicane. And it looks like Air Jordan has held on to the position. And there's some slow moving traffic behind, but for the most part it seems like people have gotten through in one piece. Air Jordan and Hamlin were side by side, and Air Jordan has retaken the position. Hamlin plots in behind. And there's been a little bit of moving straight in. And Andrew Orthodox has come off quite badly on the start there. Lazzo has actually lost 5 places here, with Natrick and Stodds each moving up 2 to the back of this pack between Air Jordan and Hamlin as they come through second Lesmo for the first of 27 times. And Air Jordan has about a half-second gap here. Lazzo is really struggling. Is it damage? He's got Overtake on, but I think he may have damage here from the instant at the start. He's falling through the field. He's now lost 13 places on the start. I can't actually see any damage. Maybe he's just a little bit caught up in what's been going on around and lost rhythm. Lamb Chop, on the other hand, has moved 6 places, starting from the back of the grid, and is now actually challenging for points. Right, go around the outside of Garley through Parabolica. Manages to keep it in the lines. Is going to look for a bit of a tow. Garley's actually out of ERS here. They're from the flashing red light on the back of the car. That's if they're below 10% ERS overall, if they've used all their deployment for each lap. You can see now Garley crossing the line has a fresh set of deployment and is able to pull ahead a little bit, and Lamb Chop has to slot in behind here. Right at the front, Stodd has actually jumped a fair bit, and the classic Codemasters standings shenanigans have now started. Velociraptor is the first car to pull into the pits, only car needing a front wind change, but the order at the front seems to be the same, ignoring what Codemasters is doing here. So it's Air Jordan from Hamlin, and then Stodds, Natrak, Aryan, Lordful, Green Shields, Tinderbob, Nelia, Rekka, and Garley in the points. As I said, Lamb Chop is definitely pending for it, and actually, it's like we've had a Williams of Ferron who to lose it in the first lesson. Is that damage to the wing? I'm not going to do an angle here. It looks like the car is intact, but they came to a stop on the edge of the first Lesmo. Definitely ideal. We're coming on to the start of lap 3 here, and DRS will be enabled. They won't have it on the start finish straight, but on the straight leading into Ascari, and then on this long start finish for the rest of the 24 laps, they will have DRS. And actually, Stodds behind seems to have made a move on Hamlin up into P2, and is now going to try and stay within 1 second of Air Jordan, closing that gap a little bit to get into that DRS zone. So you've got about 54% of DRS sets, a purple first set with the help of the slipstream behind Hamlin. Currently still 9/10 down. The DRS protection is between the two Lesmos. If you're going to burn any overtake, don't do it now, and it looks like Stodds has got within 1 second and does have DRS available. Although, of course, this is just to close up to the back of Air Jordan, not really to try and make a move. We've seen people try to make a move into Ascari. It never worked out that well, and so I'm sure Stodds is just hoping to close up, and then if there is going to be a move, it's going to be on that one start finish straight run through Parabolica. See, now the gap is 4/10 and closing in the slipstream. So Stodds will have DRS once again. Can it be a good run? Through Ascari. Air Jordan's actually out of ERS as well. I'm not sure whether that is due to the amount of deployment, or it actually appears it's just that he's burned all of it trying to defend, and Stodds is able to fly past that care in the world. Air Jordan down to 4% at the end of that straight, and Stodds, from starting in P6, has taken the race lead after just 3 laps of the Italian Grand Prix. That is a fantastic start from Dodds, who is on the soft compound tyre, so that will definitely be helpful in the early stages of the race. But if they can build a nice gap and then try and undercut these medium runners, there may be enough room to defend at the end of the race. With Hamlin actually in the background, it's a 3-second time penalty, or I believe running wide through the Delaware chicane. I could be wrong. Hamlin is now on the back of Air Jordan. Stott is pulling away, and it's just a bit of a DRS, well, not a DRS train, second and third right now. A little bit of a train at the back of the field, but the pack already spreading out a little bit after just 3.5 laps around Monza. If Hamlin is able to get ahead of Air Jordan. These two cars essentially in the position they started in, other than the fact that Stodds has got the field on those soft compound tyres. With Nat Track being the one who actually stayed where they are and in fact moved to place compared to everyone else. Of course, Stodds on those softs, as are Adiman, Amchot Ferron, and the Velociraptor, who has pit onto the soft compound tyre after starting on the mediums and having to stop on lap 1 for a front wing. Hamlin is right on the back of Air Jordan here. Air Jordan is still struggling with ERS. Hamlin is on about 30%. Air Jordan, 0% ERS, is really struggling with managing that electrical energy, and that could come for the rest of this stint if he can't recover a little bit, find a little bit of a break, optimise for overall pace rather than a defence against drivers that might have the measure of him. As it stands, that deployment has gotten Air Jordan almost out of the DRS range of Hamlin, but Hamlin still holding on. But of course, taking a corner cutting penalty to do so, and seems to still be taking a few liberties with the track limits to Ascari there, so there could be a few more to come there. Button, no, currently all the penalties are just a second added to race time. See what happens elsewhere. There's a yellow flag for Ascari. It looks like that's Adiman who's been in a little bit of an incident. Got down to all places. That is damage, and that will likely be an early pit stop, possibly forced onto the hard compound tyre just to get rid of that front wing. And Adiman indeed peels into the pit lane at the end of lap 5. So a bit of a nightmare weekend so far for Adiman. Not being able to qualify very well in the wet conditions, and now getting into an instant Ascari and having to make an early pit stop. Two Shields as well, having to stop, possibly getting caught up with Adiman there. It's possible. Adiman has gone to the hard compound of tyre, really onto the soft to stop in this race. I think soft probably will make it to the end of the race. And these cars do have 3, possibly 4 fresh sets of soft compound tyres available to them, because they didn't use any tyres in the qualifying session. And that is Futi 90. He's had an incident into the Delaware chicane, has lost a front wing and is now down to 15th place. And so no major incidents so far, but a few minor ones popping up, and cars picking up damage, trying to carry as much speed as possible through this high-speed track. Sometimes just a little bit too much on the limit. Arjen is on the back of Lord Volk here, 4/10 the gap, and it looks like we'll have DRS and has a good amount of overtake to use if they so wish. Lord Volk ahead is really struggling, and you see there Arjen pulls out. He's going to try and take the inside line into the first chicane, and Lord Volk has to concede that, slot in behind and try and hold on through this. But actually, that's a very good run. He's going up the inside using their overtake, what they've got left of it, and it's up into P5 for the time being. But Arjen does have the resources to fight back. Is it going to happen? No, not into this chicane. But Arjen is just going to shooting behind. Has 85% ERS though, and so definitely it's in a position to take the position back whenever Lord Volk makes a mistake or just doesn't have a good run. He does have DRS here. It's probably not going to be enough to make a move, but on the start finish rate I can definitely see that be done, as Booty 90 after that incident at the Delaware chicane has pulled into the pits for a set of hard compound tyres. But for the most part, these battles are a little bit calmer. But a 3-0 battle, and actually Lamb Chop going into Ascari makes a move on Ferren. That was brave. And actually, Andrew Orthodox has spun at Ascari, not taking damage, but has had to wait for those cars to get past. And that puts him down to P13 on those medium tyres. Lamb Chop and Ferren still very close. Ferren runs wide though. It's possible actually will carry enough speed, but that is definitely not how you're meant to hit that corner. Lordvolt has defended from Arjen at the end of this straight. And yeah, Ferren hasn't got a very good run through Parabolica. And will stay in P12 for the time being. I'm so glad I switched over to that move. And Arjen! Oh, Arjen! Just completely misjudges that. Hits a 3-second warning, penalty for the corner cut-in. And of course has to concede that because that was very much an off-track overtake. So Lordvolt now actually escaping the DRS, and Sienna Bob is now on the back of his teammate, has the DRS, doesn't have a 3-second penalty from a brave move into the De La Roche chicane. And we'll have to see if Sienna Bob can capitalise on that and make a move up into this maybe set after Lordvolt, who got a bit of a lucky break there. New out the front of the field, Stodds holding about a 3-second gap. Air Jordan behind. Of course, those medium guys are doing well. Air Jordan has a 3-second gap to Hamlin behind on the same compound, so that's definitely a strong showing from the Renault team so far. Wrecker currently sat in P8. Stodds, while ahead, is going to have to go onto the mediums later in this race, and that could cost them. It seems like Owen has gone into the pits, whether that's to replace damage or I'm not too sure, but has picked up a penalty for speeding while doing so. It's probably a little bit too early for the mediums to be comfortable. Owen's gone onto the mediums, so that's probably going to be kind of close out the race on that tyre, but it will require a little bit of time management. It's not the easiest thing to get those medium tyres. What? 19 laps, I believe? The checkered flag? Possibly 18. Depends on whether they get lapped, I suppose. Yeah, it looks like Arjen has managed to defend from Sienna Bob there. There's a 1.2 second gap, but has fallen off the back of the McLaren ahead. That penalty does effectively put him behind both Sienna Bob and Wrecker here, if the race were to end as things stand. That's a 3-second penalty that I think might have been an instant slap from the game for making that move through De La Roja. And even though you give up the position, it was still a corner cut that gained a significant amount of time. And the current battle to watch is Latzo, who does have the DRS on Gali ahead, is running fairly low on electrical energy, still enough to make the move if the time comes. As it stands, Latzo just using the DRS to stay on the back of the Williams. Bide their time. It's a little bit of it's been normally a very exciting part of the race with the pit stop phase, really getting going for these soft runs, but we don't have any soft runs because of the wet qualifying, and so there's going to be a little bit of time before that movement happens in the pit lane. You see these cars go onto the soft compound tyre, but of course once they do, they'll all be flying around this high-speed circuit on fresh, soft rubber. It should be a grandstand finish to this race if everything goes to plan. It's on Sienna Bob is actually on the back of Arjen here. Latzo, of course, still fighting this battle, not able to move into Ascari as beautiful as that would have been. But the two teammates might see a little. There's not a massive pace difference, though it's not like you expect a multi-21 situation. Actually, we have a yellow flag coming through sector 2. It looks like we've had a Haas lose it on the exit, crash into the left-hand wall. That is Lamb Chop. And of course, that is a ton of damage. Fortunately for Lamb Chop, this is right in the pit stop phase, and so it's reasonable to make a move now. Obviously, having to spend extra time replacing that front wing, then going onto the normal strategy, onto mediums to ride out the rest of the race. And Wondol and Lamb Chop actually side by side. With Velociraptor and Wondol side by side. Perhaps Wondol's hard tyres not really optimal to be on, and even though Velociraptor's soft is so old, it's still a pace difference. As Lamb Chop does pull into the pits, I assume to put on some tyres for the rest of this race, taking a new front wing alongside Aryan. Currently sits tenths back. Actually, Wondol is still fighting this. I shouldn't have cut away from this battle. I was expecting Wondol to just fall back on those hards, but we're almost side by side coming through Melrose chicane. But through these high-speed corners, those tyres are fine. Now almost a second down. Will it be DRS? It will be DRS. The two blue lights on the right-hand side of the wheel there. But like if I just pop up the telemetry to show you. Dodds has pulled into the pits on cue to go onto the medium compound tyre where what they will finish the race on. They're dropping through the field. It looks like they'll come out in about P10. No, P9. Just stays ahead of his teammate Latzo on the alternate strategy, as of most cars in this race. And so Stodds, now for the time being, still on the best tyres of anyone in this front pack because mediums don't have any wear on them. But at the end of the race, everyone else will be on the soft compound tyre, fresh softs. He'll be on old mediums. Have to defend for his life to maintain podium position in this race. Definitely possible. We actually have Stodds already on the back of Garley. I should not have cut away from that either. And with DRS, actually should be making a move down into Ascari. This could be a clean pass before the corner. Stodds is given a lot of room there, coming across just to hit the racing line after getting ahead of the Williams. And that just shows what the pace advantage is like on those medium tyres. When they're fresh, turned on, it can grip onto the road that much easier. Into P8 here, and now the chase down to Rekka through the road. Bob actually has gotten past Aryan here, and he's attacking Lord Volk. Cannot make a move into turn 1, but that is a fantastic in a position after I thought that battle had simmered out a little bit. Bob, in a great position, using a fair bit of overtake to make that move. While Lord Volk ahead is actually a little bit low on fuel right now. Still made it to the end of the race with a reasonable amount of management, but an eye on as we get further along in Grand Prix. That track's actually held on well to Hamilton. After Air John has a nice air down to the cars ahead. But in that track, 2 seconds back from Hamlin, almost 5 seconds up the road from Lord Volk. So definitely a strong showing. If you think the alternate strategy is the one to be on, that's the buffer he's had to make to hold onto a podium position here. Because we'll see how Dodds deals into this, and I don't think there's anyone behind who's really much of a threat. Dodds is the main champion of that strategy tool who could end up throwing a spanner in the works of these lead cars. But he's the Bob with a ton of overspeed. Lord Volk low on ERS. Red light flashing on straight is now recovered up to 22%. Again, still on overtake. I'm not sure whether there's been a bit of a glitch or not. Just trying to defend with everything he has from Bob there, but the resource is going to run out at some point, so it's definitely something to be careful of. It's definitely something to watch. Dodds, meanwhile, has gained about a second on Rekka. We'll want to try and get into the DRS zone before this one here. Looks like he's managed to gain a 10th or 2. The first Lesmo does have DRS active. Coming down the straight into Ascari. There won't be enough speed for a move here, but that is impressive. And Bob actually did close up quite a bit to Lord Volk here, who has been forced into a penalty by Bob's aggression here. And actually behind, that was Aryan. Aryan has gone into the wall On the edge of Ascari, taking damage. No! Has Aryan not taken damage there? It doesn't look like there's damage on that front wing. Both end plates are intact. That is something of a miracle. And so he might be able to finish out his stint and get onto the medium. As Andrew Orthodox is closed right up to the back of him though, and further back of the field, Cinnabon has finally made the move on Lord Bolt. Lots of a little bit into turn 1 on that tighter line, but holds the position and has enough to defend from Lord Bolt, who will try and attack with the remaining allotment of his electrical energy. Looks like the Arb can hold on to this position into the Delaware chicane. There we go. Aryan actually fallen behind Andrew Orthodox there. Just compromised through the run, through Parabolica, by that earlier instant. And Andrew Orthodox into a point position right now. Could see Ferren try and extend those mediums to the end of the race from where they are right now. That we want to watch, possibly jumping some of the cars in the lower points positions, but in terms of the battle at the front, it's really just Stodds, who has gotten past Wrecker, built out a nice 2-second buffer already, and is now about half the way to Lord Volt in P5, who's just been passed by Cinnabon. Does have the DRS to drag him along. You see it active, but there we go. 1% ERS, no ERS. So he's going to pull to the outside here, but the speed at the end of the straight is just not quite enough, and actually runs into the back of Cinnabon. A nice move. I'm not sure whether that was the cleanest thing. I'm not sure if my view was really really what these drivers were seeing, to be honest, because that looked like a really strange overtake, but regardless, Lord Volt has managed to pull back into P4. That battling has put Stodds right on the back of this train, you can see, because it's a bit unfortunate for Stodds, because being the third car in the DRS train, the car ahead that you're trying to attack also has the assistance, but with these tyres it might still be enough to make a move on the start-finish straight. So Cinnabon might be trying to attack and make sure get past Lord Volt as well to not be stuck as the third car position once again. Although of course both these cars will be out the pits at any moment. We did see a couple of cars, Latzo and Aryan, already pull in, and their Stodds actually makes the move before Parabolica, knowing that Lord Volt ahead can still give him DRS. It's a little bit tail happy, it's a little bit wide through Parabolica, that's enough though. And there we go, Lord Volt and Cinnabon actually do pull into the pits here, and Stodds just gets free DRS from everyone. Run down this straight and continue that charge on those fresh mediums. There's Natrat, Lord Volt and Cinnabon all pulling into the pit, putting fresh softs on. Andrew Orthodox behind doing the same. It looks like the cars have stayed in the positions they were, which is to be expected. No one was serving a penalty or changing a wing. And Cinnabon now just 7/10 back from Lord Volt. They're both on fresh tyres. It's a matter of who can eat them up the quickest and get them into an optimal window to attack with. If Lord Volt can do that early and pull away, then that would be big. God's actually picked up a 3-second penalty for corner cutting. Trying to just get the maximum out of that car. It looks like it was in first chicane. It looks like Lord Volt has actually pulled out a bit of a gap here. Managed to get those soft tyres working earlier. 2.5 up and actually has pulled out of DRS range. That's a big blow to Cinnabon's race here. Not able to stay on the back of the car ahead. And after Lord Volt was struggling with ERS a lot early in the race, could be enough now. Andrew Orthodox will have ERS on Aryan. Down into Ascari. This probably isn't enough to make a move though. We actually see Hamlin pulling to the pits now. Air Jordan and Garley both staying out, as does Wrecker. They're the 3 cars still on their starting set of medium tyres. Sure, we'll see them stop next lap, but actually we have 2 Renaults in that pack, and so we might have to see a double stack here, or one of them go very long on their mediums. That's definitely an interesting scenario to have in about a minute's time. And Andrew Orthodox on straight will have DRS. Is currently 4/10 back from Arjen. Has the DRS, has the overtake. I'm sure has the rich fuel mix enabled. We can't quite see it, but there we go. A pretty simple move on Arjen on the same tyres, so a fair battle, and just had the overspeed. Able to make the move on Arjen. Has to just try and fight back here. 4/10 down. Hold on. Second DRS zone. Now, coming round final corner, we have Air Jordan. Does pull into the pits here. We have Stodds 10 seconds behind, who will inherit the race lead with this move, and I mean, could be a very serious threat here if the other cars can't overtake. But my question is, what does Wrecker do? Yeah, Wrecker has to stay out. Garly does pull into the pits, and Wrecker is now a last car on their starting set of medium tyres, because Air Jordan was already in the pit box, and he didn't want to double stack behind his teammate. But this could be a painful lap while all the other cars undercut and just gain masses of time on their new soft compound tyres, and Wrecker could fall well through the field by that. Let's see, Air Jordan lost. I mean, Air Jordan and Hamlin have both lost about 4 seconds in that track. Air Jordan almost got overtaken by that track. Hamlin is way out of the picture now. And Lord Vulture and Sienna Bob could be the ones to watch. You know what, only 3/10 down. Cannot make Ruben De La Roja. That would have been great. But in that track, right on the gearbox of what could be the race leader, depending on how Stodds' mediums hold up for the rest of this race. Only down by 3/10 coming through Ascari. Not going to be looking for a move into this corner, but to try and hold on. Actually lost a fair bit of time for Ascari and picks up a penalty for in too much of that final curb. So Air Jordan give a bit of a sigh of relief, and now after getting undercut, almost losing the position to the cars behind, is defending fairly well, and Wrecker finally pulls into the pits. But how much time those extra laps have cost him? That's the question. I mean, we're on board with Andrew Orthodox here. Andrew's going to be able to make the move. It's possible. It looks like Garly is possibly the main. And you can see that, yes, Wrecker has come out ahead of Garly in P8. But that is quite a big gap from where they were earlier in this race. The gap at the front between Stodds and Air Jordan is 12 seconds. Stodds on the medium tyres, old mediums, and they have to defend well from these cars behind. But 12 seconds in 8 laps is a lot to make up, and so Stodds pulling to the traditional strategy, which turned into the alternate strategy, could be in a good position after finding clear air in the middle portion of the race. And Air Jordan has quite a big task here to hunt them down. Stodds does have 3 seconds of penalties, which will help Air Jordan. It's currently clean. A lot of the cars actually on 3 seconds. Hamlin carrying 11 seconds of penalties as his Ferran. I assume those are both, that's 6 seconds of corner cutting plus possibly a pit lane speeding penalty. But Hamlin could fall well through the order as this race unfolds. We have Lord Volt behind, who, and Cinnabob, 2/10 away, has the DRS, has burned through a lot of the overtake already, but it looks like it's going to be quite close down into turn 1, and Lord Volt doesn't have to attack with, but has the inside line. Pantino hold the outside, which switched to the inside in turn 2, and Sienna Bob currently has the position. Lord Volt slots in behind, has to be patient. We have Wrecker in a similar position here. I believe they're both on very similar tyres. Lazo's tyres are a little bit older, actually quite a lot older. Wrecker did make that very late stop, of course, but will it be enough to... You have to think that if Wrecker had been able to stop earlier and not get undercut, he'd already be ahead of the AlphaTauri here. And so making an overtake late is definitely what he wants, but it might not be quite enough. The race, Tree Fields actually is making a move around the outside of one goal through Turbo Grande. Only for P15 though, not the best race for coming P2 in the championship. Looking like they're not enough points here. Retic does get past Lazzo. Go back to Lord Volt, who's flying around Parabolica once again. Half a second back from Xenobob. Will that be enough? Again, only about 20% ERS lead. That actually does not decide to use the overtake here. Possibly learning from some of the difficulties earlier in the race, trying to just save up for a big attack later on. Of course, both these cars will be seeing these tyres at the end of the race. They pitted on the same lap, they're going to be going the same distance, and so your priority is not really on making a move this lap, it's on having the position at the end of lap 27. Lord Volt just sitting behind 4/10 with the DRS. The Xenobot can force them to use some DRS and some fuel in order to bend right now. It could be enough to make a position at the end of the race. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Air Jordan got a gap down to 9 seconds, but that is not falling as fast as it needs to. But I can tell that seems like it's possibly Stodd's race. Like, Stodd's in P1 as things stand. The gap is 8.8 seconds right now, 5.8 once you factor in the 3-second time penalty that he has. But Air Jordan has a big task to make that time up over the next 5 laps. Just back into a winning position. Lord Volt has a very good run through Parabolica here. Has the DRS, is using the overtake this time, and flies through very early to take P5. Xenobob in the slipstream has a little bit of a look to the inside, but it's not going to do anything. And Lord Volt back into P5 in this race. And one thing to keep an eye out is that this patch is currently 9 seconds behind Hamlin. And the penalty delta between these two drivers and Hamlin is 8 seconds. And so they're squabbling a little bit between themselves right now. But it's definitely something to watch because Hamlin needs his cars to stay at a very safe distance. 2 meters isn't enough. They need to be almost an entire straight behind for those penalties to work out in Hamlin's favour. And it stands, Lord Volt's already gained half a second on what Hamlin needs at that. Now only half a second away from provisional P4. And it might not be enough. It could be Hamlin and Lord Volt and Xenobob making that jump and the record if those fewer softs are able to do their work. Air Jordan at the front, only 4 laps to go, gaining another 5.2 seconds. And the Alpha Tauri of Stodd's starting on the soft compound tyre when everyone around went for the mediums, made a strong run in the early laps to take the lead of the race and just build out a gap, running in clear air for the first stint, running in clear air for the start of the second stint, is now running in spring beautiful air, 8 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. And if Air Jordan can't catch him, he's taking the lead of this race with a fantastic strategy call. That would be something incredible to watch here. Xenobob's actually gotten past Lord Volt again. And these cars battling once again is helping out Hamlin. Hamlin's almost on the back of Knack track here. Might try and close into DRS, not to make a move too much, but just to tow him along and pull him away from the fight behind. That could be enough. Redco as well is actually less than seconds behind Lord Volt. And Lord Volt and Xenobob both have 3 seconds of penalties. So if he can stay clean, Lord Volt pits for another penalty on the exit of Ascari, is now on 6 seconds, so that could neutralise the battle to Xenobob. And not only could Recca now jump the McLaren, so could Lazzo and Garly and possibly Andrew behind. There's a 3-car battle coming through Parabolica right now. All of these cars could overtake Lord Volt on penalties by the time the race ends. Garly, of course, does have 6 seconds as well, so maybe not. But Andrew Orthodox, who's currently trying to make a move on Garly here, without the had no ERS to work with. But you see Plateau as well cover. And this is a fantastic battle to watch. They're doing side by side. Garly finds his way through. Andrew Orthodox just follows, and Ladzo is pushed down into P10 for the time being. course, Gali will fall behind both of them at the end for penalties, but in the battle between Andrew Orthodox and Lazzo, Gali is playing a very big part right now, all efficient as is his right to do. And this could be huge in the battle for the final point-paying positions. Lord Volt's fallen a little bit off the back of Chernobyl, of course, can't make that move. Wrecker behind isn't a jump, but of course this battle as well means that Lord Volt may be safe from Lazzo and Andrew, because they're battling. Andrew getting past Gali here, despite having that ERS light flashing on the back. Lazzo's going to try and same thing on the edge of the sky. Gali not running the fastest, but Lazzo can't really make a move here. He's got to try and do it. Into Parabolica maybe, but possibly just trying to compromise Gali's run. Get a good run through Parabolica after getting the DRS and just blast down, start, finish straight. It looks like Lazzo's played this well. It looks like Gali has fallen out of DRS possibly. No, he has DRS available. Actually does defend from Lazzo there. But Gali holding up Lazzo, and Andrew's not breaking away either, and that's giving Lord Volt a much better opportunity to win this, to keep that position, if not from Wrecker, from the cars behind Wrecker. We're on the penultimate lap of the race, and currently the gap between Air Jordan and Stott is 5.2 seconds. 5.2 is not close enough for Air Jordan, and actually has a bit of a wobble coming through Ascari there. Pushing, trying to close down that gap as much as possible. Dodds has a 3-second time penalty right now, but has a 5-second lead on the conventional strategy, the soft-medium strategy, coming round for this final of 27 laps of Monza. And Dodds is in a very good position here, if he can just keep it on track and avoid another penalty. That's the key thing to keep an eye on for Stodds here. Meanwhile, Lord Volk is still holding on to Snowbob, not close enough to make a move, but that's not his battle right now. His battle is with Andrew Orthodox and Lazzo behind. And it looks like they are getting caught in battles with Gali here. Lazzo just is stuck behind Gali, which means that Andrew Orthodox is going to have a good chance of that position, but Andrew can't break away and close that gap to Lord Volk. Lord Volk actually very close to Sienna Bob coming through Curva Grande. Can't make a move, doesn't really care to make a move to keep the DRS. Going into Ascari for the final time, we have Stodds. Is it nice and careful, not taking the curb, not wanting to take a penalty at this late stage of the race. Air Jordan attacking that curb, trying it as much as possible. But I don't think it'll be enough. Stodds is coming round Parabolica for the final time, the final corner of the Italian Grand Prix. And starting on the soft compound tyre, the AlphaTauri of Stodds has driven a fantastic race and takes the race win. Air Jordan comes across the line behind, will gain 3 seconds, but will stay in P2, and then the final podium position will probably go to Nat Track here. Hamlin crosses the line behind, gets demoted behind Sienna Bob and Lord Volt, possibly? No, they're still battling through Parabolica. Hamlin will keep P4, and then Sienna Bob, Lord Volt, and Wrecker jumps Hamlin as well. That was not on my radar. Wrecker jumps to P4. That's a fantastic race for Renault. Pulling off a 2-4. Andrew Orthodox, Lord Volk. Oh, Andrew Orthodox did jump Lord Volk by 3/100ths of a second, with Lazzo staying in P9 and Gali taking the final points position of P10. And that was a fantastic race. A lot of small battles scattered throughout the field. And the real star of that show was Stodds, who, I just knowing everyone was going to be starting on the mediums, decided to run alternate strategy, take the softs, make the most of them in those early laps, get to the lead of the race, which is no mean feat even on a soft compound of tyre. And then from there, just blast away, keep clear air for the rest of the race, run time trial laps essentially, and it was enough to take the race win by 1.2 seconds from Air Jordan. And that is stiff competition as well. The cars behind Air Jordan currently third in the championship, Wrecker currently first in the championship. Dodds, who has not scored a point before today, hits up the race win. Game award driver day to Andrew Orthodox for gaining the most positions throughout that race. But if you ask me, it's got to be man celebrating there. Stodds, that's strategical. I just can't stop talking about it. It was incredible. Taking advantage of the wet qualifying and knowing what everyone else is doing, essentially. And pulls off the race win. With Air Jordan home in P2 and Nat Track in P3. The rest of the points finishers here: Becker, Hamlin, Abnelio, Andrew Orthodox, Lord Volt, Lazzo, and Garley. Aryan, Velociraptor, Chewy Steels, Adiman, Lamb Chop, Ferran, Bondol, and Fuki90 having to wait until next week by points. So, of course, we are looking on to next week now, with that race being over. I can try and do some quick mental math to work out what the championship will look like right now. Air Jordan hasn't possibly jumped into the lead, but I think Wrecker might have held it, that performance. Trini Siddles, who was in P2, has had a bit of a shocker, as has Adiman, who was in P4. So, then we a little bit of movement here. We'll have to see how that shapes out, of course. Be sure to keep an eye on, if you're in the division, of course, or in the lead, you can keep an eye on the Division 3 chat to see how the standings update. If you're outside of the lead, possibly check some of the FRS socials, they might have information, or of course you can come back here next Sunday, the round 4 of Division 3 will be, if I can get the graphic up correctly, it will be at Azerbaijan, the Baku City Circuit. Possibly the highest speed street circuit I've ever seen, quite frankly. A lot of long straights, so very, very brave in that part. But of course, that twisty second sector, the infamous castle section, is something to watch out for. I'm sure our drivers will be very happy after dealing with the stress of that track to get a week's break, to relax, possibly take part in some alternate events around the lead. I think a Le Mans 2.4 hours might be on the cards, so be sure to keep an eye out for that in that break week, the weekend of the 27th of February. Of course, for that we do have to go to Baku. Be sure to tune in on the 19th at 9 PM on twitch.tv/FR Series to check out that Baku race for Division 1. Then 7 PM the next day in the same place for Division 2. And then all around Twitch over that weekend, find the rest of the 13 divisions we have in the FRS. It really is a fantastic community. I highly encourage that you stick around to see what comes next. Of course, that includes the race that we will have right now. I don't know which division it is. It is PC Division 5, hosted by twitch.tv/Harringzord. So I'm going to have to send you over there because, I mean, he's a really fantastic commentator. And Division 5 is going to be, I'm sure, another great show. So be sure to check that out. And until next week, thank you for joining me here.